This guy's got the perfect life for many. Flashy cars, a huge mansion, and fame all over the globe. But what if all this wealth came from tricking millions? Meet Hush Puppy, an Instagram star known for his luxurious lifestyle, but accused of running massive scams and laundering money. He's said to have conned $1.6 billion from 800,000 people. How did the FBI handle such a big fraud case? Ramon Olorunwa Abbas, famously known as Hush Puppy, started from humble beginnings in Lagos, Nigeria. His dad was a taxi driver, and his mom sold bread on the streets to support their family. Growing up in such a tough environment, Abbas dreamed of a lavish life, far from his simple roots. His early ventures into business involved selling high-end clothes right out of his car to people who were drawn to the fancy brands he displayed, even though he wasn't living that luxury life himself yet. As the internet began to spread in Nigeria during the early 2000s, internet cafes popped up everywhere. These places were filled with computers and people who paid to use the internet. For many unemployed youths, these cafes were just for fun, but for some, like Abbas, they were a gold mine. He and others like him learned to run online scams from these spots. They got into things like check fraud and romance scams where they'd fool people into sending money. They were called Yahoo Boys because they often used Yahoo email to carry out their scams. They'd spend hours making up stories that sounded real enough to convince someone to send money over and over. Abbas got really good at these scams quickly. By 2014, though, Nigeria started to crack down on cybercrimes. Abbas and his buddies needed a new place to operate from, so they moved to Malaysia. This country had great internet and less strict laws on cybercrime, perfect for them to keep growing their shady operations. But that's not all. In Malaysia, Abbas didn't just keep up his scams, he got even better. He started pulling off business email compromise scams, where he tricked companies into sending him big bucks. This scamming brought in so much cash that Abbas completely transformed his life and persona. He became Hush Puppy on Instagram, showing off his world of expensive cars, fancy clothes, and wild parties. His account got huge, with 2.8 million people following him, watching his every move, and buying into his story of a guy who made it big through sheer grit and determination. He'd post inspirational quotes about hard work and pushing through tough times, all while hiding the real source of his money. People from across the world loved his feed, totally unaware of the scams behind it. This went on until he was caught and prosecuted, resulting in a 12-year federal prison sentence. This finally exposed just how wide and deep his criminal activities ran. You see, Hush Puppy loved to show off on Instagram, where he shared stories about climbing from rags to riches through sheer grit. He was all about the high life, decking himself out in designer gear, sparkling jewelry, and cruising around in top-tier cars. His go-to hashtags included names like Rolls-Royce, Versace, Gucci, and Fendi, and he proudly called himself the Billionaire Gucci Master. His flashy display kept attracting more eyes, and he racked up over 2.8 million followers. Back in Nigeria, he was seen as a big shot, a guy who made it big. Companies would send him free stuff, and he got invites to some pretty swanky gatherings. But Hush Puppy's life wasn't without its drama. He often found himself in online spats, and there were always whispers about the true source of his wealth. Even though he posted snaps of his fancy trips and shopping sprees, he never really cleared the air on how he could afford such extravagance. When pressed, he'd vaguely claim he was making bank in real estate, yet it was obvious he was sitting on a pile of cash. And the worst is yet to come. The real scoop? Hush Puppy's fortune mostly came from pulling off business email compromise scams. These aren't your everyday scams. They go after businesses, not just regular folks, and they're incredibly lucrative. BEC scams suck more than $1.8 billion a year out of companies, accounting for over 40% of all the dough lost to frauds annually. Often, these cases don't hit the headlines much because the companies duped are too embarrassed to come clean about being tricked. Hushpuppi mastered the art of BEC scams. He'd send emails that looked like they were from a trusted partner or a big boss within a company, fooling them into wiring him heaps of money. This shady business bankrolled his swanky lifestyle and kept up his image as a self-made mogul. Beneath all these glamorous Instagram posts and uplifting captions was a web of deceit and illegal dealings. A typical BEC scam starts when hackers get into a company's email system. They might con someone into giving up their password, or maybe they just figure it out. Once inside, these crooks play the long game. They lay low, watch everything closely, waiting for the perfect moment. A major transaction or a crucial bill to pop up. They position themselves just right, and then when the time is ripe, they strike, redirecting huge sums of money into their own pockets. All the while, Hushpuppi paraded around as a legit businessman, hiding the dirty truth behind a veil of luxury and lies. When they see the right chance, these scammers spring into action. They might grab a payment by sending over a phony invoice that looks just like a real one, but with their own bank details slapped on it. Or they could shoot out an email from an address that's almost identical to the legit one, saying sorry for a mix-up in the bank info and giving out new fake bank details. To make their scam look even more legit, they sometimes put up fake websites and set up bogus companies. They're even prepared with fake phone numbers, ready to handle any confirmation calls that might come their way. And there's more. Once a company bites the bait and sends cash to the scammer's account, the fraudsters waste no time. They shuffle the money across different accounts, buy up pricey stuff like gold, or flip the cash into cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Doing this scrambles the trail of their money, making it super hard for the scammed companies to track down or get back their cash. Pulling off scams this big needs a whole crew of crooks, each with their own job to do. Some craft the fake bank accounts, others whip up the fake websites, a few sneak into email systems, and some manage the dirty job of laundering the stolen money. They often use money mules, folks who, without even knowing it, help move the stolen cash. These mules are sometimes tricked through other scams, like fake love interest. Now, of course, a big name in the BEC scam world is a guy named Boss, and we've already been talking about him. But he also has a buddy named Galeb Alamari in Canada, helping him launder money. Together, they've cooked up some major heists, like the time they tried to swipe 13 million euros from the Bank of Valletta in Malta. They hacked into the French stock exchange regulators' systems and used that access to pretend to be regulators. Armed with this fake authority, they sent misleading emails to folks at the Maltese bank, getting them to open up their secure payment systems. Abbas was in charge of providing the bank accounts where the huge sums of money would be dumped and then cleaned. Stay tuned for more. But this time, their plan flopped. They couldn't move the money out fast enough, and thanks to some quick media reports that alerted the public, the bank managed to recover most of the stolen funds. This episode shows the high stakes and challenges in pulling off these slick fraud schemes. As scammers get smarter and their tricks get more complex, the good guys, the companies, banks, and law enforcement, are stepping up their game too. They're tightening security, reacting faster, and getting better at stopping these crooks in their tracks. Now, even after facing setbacks, Abbas didn't skip a beat in flaunting his high-flying lifestyle. Just a day after a major scam attempt fizzled, he was on Instagram showing off his lavish life. Dressed head to toe in Fendi and leaning on a $160,000 sports car, he shared his latest splurge. A new Bentley Bentayga he bought to celebrate Valentine's Day in opulence. But beneath this flashy display was a grim reality. His extravagant lifestyle was bankrolled by deceit and scams. In one of his schemes, Abbas teamed up with a Kenyan entrepreneur named Juma to swindle a businessman from Qatar out of $1.1 million. This businessman was on the hunt for a $15 million loan to fund a school project in Qatar. This search led him to Juma's slick but fake lending website. Using phony identities, Abbas and Juma convinced the businessman that they were just the right people to secure this loan. They sweet-talked him into paying hefty fees up front to speed up the loan process. And that's not all. Whenever the businessman got antsy about the loan delays, Abbas and Juma were quick to ask for more money. They claimed these extra funds were essential to move things along. To make their con more convincing, they hired Vincent Chibuzo to craft a bogus Wells Fargo website, complete with a fake customer service line. When the businessman called this number, he was falsely assured that a $15 million deposit was ready for him. However, soon Abbas was demanding a $575,000 withholding tax to release the funds from the U.S. This new steep demand for cash caused some friction. Chibuzo, feeling shortchanged, demanded a larger slice of the pie. This infuriated Abbas, who wasn't keen on sharing more of the stolen loot. In a fit of anger, Chibuzo spilled the beans about the scam to the Qatari businessman. Enraged by the betrayal, Abbas reached out to Abba Kyari, Nigeria's deputy police commissioner known for his reputed integrity and nicknamed Super Cop. In a critical blunder, Abbas asked Kyari for a violent retribution against Chibuzo, even offering a bribe to ensure Chibuzo would be locked away for a long stretch. To Abbas's surprise, Kyari agreed to this harsh plan. He promptly provided his bank details for the payoff and swiftly detained Chibuzo, even sending Abbas a photo as proof of the capture. In a desperate bid to rescue Chibuzo, his girlfriend tried to bribe Kyari, yet Kyari was unmoved, firmly stating that no amount of money could sway his decisions or actions. This chain of events not only highlights Abbas's ostentatious life and his manipulative schemes, but also reveals deep-seated corruption within certain elements of law enforcement. Abbas and his crew manipulated both their victims and the corruptible practices within the police to weave a complex web of deceit and exploitation. They adeptly used power and corruption to their benefit, all while maintaining a facade of success and wealth on social media, portraying themselves as untouchable figures of affluence and influence. But wait, there's more. Abbas, although a mastermind in making his shady money dealings look legit, didn't manage to keep things low-key in his personal life. He loved the spotlight a bit too much and couldn't resist showing off his extravagant lifestyle on Instagram, where he had a whopping 2.8 million followers. Among these followers were regular folks who admired his wealth and lifestyle, but there were also sharp-eyed law enforcement officers. It didn't take long for the FBI to start questioning where all his flashy wealth was coming from. His Instagram, filled with luxury items and expensive trips, was under their radar. His big slip came when he posted a picture of a Gucci-themed birthday cake. It seemed harmless, but it actually gave away his birth date. This small piece of info was the missing puzzle for investigators. They matched his birth date from the cake picture to details in his visa application, and bingo! They uncovered his real identity and got a clear look at his money movements. It became pretty obvious to everyone watching that Abbas was deeply involved in money laundering. This revelation set off a chain of events that had investigators digging even deeper into his activities. The situation heated up with a particular scam Abbas pulled off that swiped $922,000 from a New York law firm. Quick on his feet, Abbas moved $396,000 of that loot to a Canadian bank account. He got in touch with his buddy Alamari to make sure the transfer went through. Alamari confirmed he got the money right when he landed in Canada, but little did he know the FBI was already onto him. As soon as he stepped off the plane, FBI agents were there waiting, and he was arrested on the spot. The drama didn't stop there. The very next day, another member of Abbas's crew, known as Mumfa, found himself in hot water. He was caught at an airport in Nigeria and slapped with charges of fraud and money laundering. This series of arrests was a clear message that law enforcement wasn't playing games. They were serious about cracking down on cybercrime. And that wasn't the worst. Abbas really should have left the scene by then. Despite everything, he seemed totally calm and kept posting pictures of Fendi bags and relaxing in hot tubs on his Instagram. This was happening while the FBI had complete access to his Snapchat, which was filled with evidence all linked to his email, rayhushpuppy@gmail.com. Meanwhile, the FBI was working closely with UAE officials near where Abbas was staying, keeping an eye on his moves. His only attempt to lay low was changing his Instagram bio from billionaire Gucci master to real estate developer. Despite this, he didn't stop flaunting his wealth. He continued to upload photos and videos showing off his expensive cars, flashy watches, and high-end fashion items from brands like Gucci, Fendi, and Louis Vuitton. He tried to present himself as a real estate mogul. He also had a passport from St. Kitts and Nevis that he got through a fake marriage. By June 2020, the law caught up with Abbas. The Dubai police nabbed him during a nighttime operation called Fox Hunt 2 at his local apartment in Palazzo Versace. Along with Abbas, 11 other people were arrested in 6 different raids happening at the same time. During these raids, detectives found over 150 million dirhams, about 40 million USD in cash, 13 high-end cars worth 25 million dirhams, $7 million, 21 laptops, 47 smartphones, 15 memory storage units, 5 external hard drives, and around 800,000 emails from people who might have been his victims. They even found suitcases packed with cash. This arrest was a big deal for the FBI because they saw Abbas as a big fish in an international cybercrime ring that helped keep stolen money hidden around the globe. Fast forward to November 8, 2022, and Hushpuppi was sitting in a U.S. courtroom where he was handed an 11-year prison sentence. He was found guilty of helping to wash money made from several shady deals, including tricking a U.S. law firm into giving away about $40 million, sneaking off with $14.7 million from a bank in another country, and even trying to swipe $124 million from an English Premier League soccer club. After the infamous Hushpuppi received his 11-year prison sentence, the FBI is still hot on the trail, tearing down the intricate web of fraud he spun. This international crackdown, cleverly dubbed Operation Top Dog, is uncovering the network's tentacles that even reach into North Korean regime funding. The FBI's insane amount of evidence from Hushpuppi's escapades includes a mountain of financial records and countless communications. These crucial documents are helping to map out a network sprawling across various countries, with staggering sums of money swindled through devious cybercrimes like business email compromise, BEC schemes, and bank heist. Hushpuppi's tale stands out not just for the sheer audacity of his crimes, but also for his flamboyant flaunting of ill-gotten wealth on social media. His lavish lifestyle, underwritten by his nefarious activities, painted a big, bold target on his back for law enforcement. The FBI's relentless pursuit continues, aiming to track down every last accomplice in this elaborate con game, ensuring that this grand deception is completely unraveled and all its perpetrators are brought to justice. Abbas's tale shows how flashy lives can hide dark secrets. Always look closer and question what you see online. Stay sharp and keep learning more. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more eye-opening stories like this one.